Everyone eats, I told myself the next night, ordering Chinese takeaway. This is normal. This is what people do when they're stressed. But it wasn't stress. It was loneliness wearing a disguise. What happens when comfort becomes the very thing that destroys you? My name is Sophia, and I moved to a new city with dreams in my eyes and hope in my heart. I weighed 150 pounds then. I was healthy, vibrant, full of life. But something happened. Something that sent me spiraling into a darkness I never saw coming. I went from 150 pounds to 600, and I'm going to tell you exactly how it happened. But before I continue, hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss what happens next. The bus ride to Portland felt like freedom. I pressed my face against the window, watching mountains give way to city lights. A new job, a new apartment, a fresh start. The first week was intoxicating. I explored coffee shops, walked through parks, imagined the life I'd build here. But week 2 arrived like a storm cloud. My coworkers were polite, but distant. Everyone already had their groups, their routines, their Friday night plans that didn't include the new girl. I'd smile in the break room, hoping someone would ask me to join them for lunch. No one did. My apartment felt smaller each night. The silence pressed against the walls, thick and suffocating. I'd call my mom, my old friends back home, but their lives had moved on too. Conversations grew shorter, more awkward. One evening, I stood in my empty living room and realized I was completely alone. That's when I ordered the pizza. Extra large, 4 toppings. I whispered to myself, at least food doesn't leave. The pizza arrived hot, fragrant, promising. I ate slice after slice, and for those 20 minutes, the loneliness faded. The melted cheese, the savory pepperoni. It was like a warm hug from the inside. When I finished, I felt full, not just physically, emotionally full, like I'd spent the evening with a friend. Everyone eats, I told myself the next night, ordering Chinese takeaway. This is normal. This is what people do when they're stressed. But it wasn't stress. It was loneliness wearing a disguise. I started experimenting. Thai food on Monday, burgers on Wednesday, Italian on Friday. Each meal was an adventure, a companion, a reason to feel something other than empty. My coworker mentioned a new taco place downtown. I didn't tell her I'd already been there 3 times that week. Alone, with extra guacamole and a side of churros. The food never judged me, never canceled plans. Never made me feel like I was too much, or not enough. It was always there. What I didn't realize was that I was building a prison, 1 plate at a time. 3 months in, 180 pounds. My jeans felt tighter, but I bought new ones. Stress from the new job, I reasoned. It would level out. 6 months. 220 pounds. My face looked fuller in the mirror. I stopped taking selfies. Stopped posting on social media. Why remind everyone back home that I was failing? The eating intensified. It wasn't about hunger anymore. It was about filling time, filling space, filling the void that screamed loudest at 9 p.m. when there was nothing to do and no one to call. Breakfast became 2 breakfast sandwiches. Lunch was always supersized. Dinner? Multiple entrees, because variety felt like company. 1 year, 300 pounds. I could barely recognize myself. Getting dressed was exhausting. Walking to the car left me breathless. But the worst part? The emptiness didn't go away. Every empty plate revealed the same hollow feeling, now mixed with shame. Why can't I stop? I'd think, even as I ordered another meal. Because I wasn't eating to satisfy hunger. I was eating because food was the only thing that showed up when I called. 18 months, 400 pounds. The woman who arrived in Portland no longer existed, and I didn't know if I could ever get her back. The stairs to my 2nd-floor apartment had become Mount Everest. I gripped the railing, hauling myself up 1 step at a time, gasping for air. A neighbor passed me, offering a concerned look. I wanted to disappear. At work, the conference room chairs had arms. I couldn't fit anymore. I started avoiding meetings, making excuses, eating lunch in my car where no one could see. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. I was at the grocery store, reaching for ice cream, my 4th pint that week, When the freezer door reflected my image, a woman I didn't know stared back, swollen, exhausted, broken. The scale at home confirmed what I'd been avoiding: 485 pounds. That night, I sat on my couch, the only furniture that still held me comfortably, and cried. Deep, heaving sobs that shook my entire body. The food wrappers scattered around me looked like evidence at a crime scene. "I'm killing myself," I whispered, "and I don't know how to stop." My phone buzzed. A notification from a food delivery app. "We miss you! 20% off your next order." I threw the phone across the room. Was this how my story ended? Alone, immobile, suffocated by the very thing I thought would save me? The flyer appeared under my apartment door 3 days later. Bright yellow. Impossible to miss. Community fitness group. All bodies welcome. Saturdays at 9 a.m. Free. I crumpled it immediately. The thought of exercising in front of strangers? Humiliating. They'd stare. They'd whisper. They'd see exactly what I'd become. But Friday night arrived, and the silence in my apartment felt different. Heavier, like it was suffocating me. I smoothed out the flyer, read it again. All bodies welcome. Could they possibly mean that? Saturday morning, I woke up at 7 a.m., heart racing. I changed clothes 4 times. Almost drove past the park twice. When I finally pulled into the parking lot, my hands were shaking. A group of about 15 people stretched on the grass. Different ages, different sizes. Some fit, some not. A woman with gray hair. A man using a cane. A young guy who looked like he hadn't exercised in years. I stayed in my car. 10 minutes passed. 9:15. I should leave. Then someone knocked on my window. A woman with kind eyes and a welcoming smile. First time? Come on, we don't bite. And we definitely don't judge. This was it. The moment that would either save me or send me running back to my empty apartment and another delivery order. My legs felt like concrete as I followed the woman. Jessica, she'd introduced herself to the group. Every eye turned toward me. I wanted to run. But instead of judgment, I saw smiles, nods. A man waved. "Welcome, grab a spot anywhere." The workout was gentle. Modified moves. Lots of encouragement. Listen to your body. Take breaks. You're doing great. I could barely do 5 minutes before I needed to stop, sweat pouring down my face. But no one looked at me with pity or disgust. Jessica brought me water. The older woman gave me a thumbs up. After the session, something unprecedented happened. People talked to me. Not about my weight. About their lives. The man with the cane was a retired teacher. Jessica was a single mom. The young guy was recovering from depression. Everyone had their own story, their own reason for being there. For the first time in 18 months, I laughed. Really laughed. Over a joke about protein shakes and someone's dog eating their gym shoes. I drove home that afternoon and realized something. I hadn't thought about food once during those 2 hours. I'd been too busy feeling connected. Week 2, I came back. Then week 3. The group became routine. Then it became something more. A place where I belonged. Where people knew my name, asked about my week, celebrated when I could do one more representative than last time. Food had promised companionship but delivered isolation. These people? They delivered actual friendship. For the first time since moving to Portland, I wasn't eating my feelings. I was sharing them. 6 months after joining the fitness group, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror. 380 pounds. Still a long journey ahead, but 105 pounds lighter than my heaviest. More importantly, I looked different. My eyes had light in them again. I'd made real friends. Jessica invited me to game nights. The retired teacher brought me books he thought I'd enjoy. The group had become my community, my support system, my reason to show up, not just to workouts, but to life. The loneliness that had devoured me, it was still there sometimes, lurking in quiet moments. But now I had tools, phone numbers to call, coffee dates to look forward to, people who genuinely cared if I showed up. Food had gone back to being just food. Not a friend, not a solution, just fuel. One evening, I sat in that same living room where I'd once cried surrounded by takeout containers. This time, 3 friends from the fitness group sprawled across my couch, laughing over a movie. Jessica looked over. "You good?" I smiled. "Yeah, I'm really good." Later, after everyone left, I reflected on my journey, the painful truth I'd learned. I thought food filled my loneliness, but it only fed the emptiness. I was starving for connection, and I tried to satisfy it with something that could never love me back. The lesson was clear. Emotional needs demand emotional solutions. Loneliness needs community. Emptiness needs purpose. Pain needs healing. Never overeating. My transformation wasn't just a number on a scale. It was this. I went from being surrounded by plates to being surrounded by people. From isolation to belonging. I'd come to Portland looking for a new life. I'd lost myself for a while, drowning in comfort food that offered no real comfort. But I found my way back. Not alone, never alone again. Because the secret I finally learned was this. We aren't meant to feed our souls with food. We're meant to nourish them with connection, purpose, and love. And me? I'm finally, truly fed. If my story touched you, hit that like button and subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because sometimes, the bravest thing we can do is admit we're hungry for something food can never provide. And remember, you are not alone.